fighting for equal rights.
Equal rights is BS. Sorry.
I thought I heard equal rights, but maybe you're referencing like other countries. What do you think about? Do you believe in the patriarchy?
Yeah, I believe in it.
No.
What
now I changed my mind.
What's the patriarchy?
I mean, it's a system. Well, like, I'll say my definition on that is that it's a thing, a social thing, a society thing that is causing disadvantages for women and men. It's not just lifting up men. It causes problems for you as well. I mean, like, with the red pill stuff, I mean, like, telling guys that they shouldn't cry. I mean, we're human beings. You have emotions. Use them.
Okay, well, there's a lot there. I'm not sure exactly how the vulnerability
like with the patriarchy, vulnerability
falls into.
is like a thing. I mean, men are being told not to show emotions. And I mean, society does that. Communities do that. Your environment does that. And a whole bunch of other things.
I mean, I don't disagree with you that perhaps men are taught to not be vulnerable, but I think let's keep it within the context of romantic relationships. Men are typically, if men are vulnerable in front of women, especially early on in a relationship, they're typically punished for that. So it's reinforced. Men's supposed lack of vulnerability is reinforced by women's punishment of said vulnerability.
I mean, I don't think that's always true. I mean, just because one girl says on Fresh and Fit, like, oh, if a man cried, I'd break up with him, or if my boyfriend cried, I'd break up with him, that doesn't mean all women are like that.
Let me ask you a question. Would you say, generally speaking, that women are attracted to men who approach them in a confident way, or men who approach them if they're a bit shy or nervous?
I mean, women are all different. We all like different things.
Generally speaking.
I mean, generally speaking, it depends on the person. I mean, some like confidence,
this is like a layup for you here.
I mean, I'm just saying that, like, you can't just generalize everyone. That's another problem, is we're generalizing everyone, men and women, and it's selling ourselves shorts because we don't all like the same things.
I like shorts.
Would you, or any
I'm
guys,
short.
would you be turned off by a woman who cries in front of you early on, or like she's way too emotional?
Yes.
So
Really? It's the same
it can
thing.
go both ways.
If a girl cried on the
like,
first date, I'm like, okay, what's going on here?
like this, you're gonna think, okay, this girl's like, she has issues.
Sure.
Maybe not want to go out with her again.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that's a one-to-one to the example I gave, where a guy's a bit shy or nervous when approaching you.
Oh yeah, that's, I mean, two
I
different
think
things.
that's.
How does the shy or
I mean,
nervous
some guys like,
relate
or
to
some girls
being
like shy guys.
emotional?
I think
later?
guys
What?
approaching at all.
Vulnerable is different than being emotional.
Okay, so how does someone being nervous and versus confident relate to being
Well, that's
vulnerable?
being, if you approach a girl and you're a bit nervous, maybe, let's say a confident guy approaches a girl,
Okay.
and then a nervous guy approaches the girl. Neither of them are creepy, but one guy's kind of a bit nervous, and then the other guy's confident. Who do you think is going to be more successful?
The confident guy, but if the confident guy later has a vulnerable moment with you, that's fine.
Right, but this idea that vulnerability is some sort of desired trait in
It is.
men.
It is.
I don't think
okay.
vulnerability
But wouldn't
means
it be,
shy
hold
and
on,
nervous.
but hold on, wouldn't it be a vulnerable thing instead of just being the super mega confident guy to like actually maybe you approach a girl and, hey, you're not Superman. Maybe you are a bit nervous.
I think if a guy
Maybe you
approached
stutter over
me
your
and
words
was
a
like,
little
hey,
bit.
I'm really nervous, but you're so, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Men don't really
I think a lot
approach
of
that
women,
much
you
now.
can say that, but a lot of women are going to look at a guy who approaches them like that, and versus compared to a guy who just steps confidently, and the guy who steps a bit nervous or a bit shy or whatever, he's going to be punished for it.
No, we're gonna
How
look
would
at
he
so many
be
other
punished?
factors. Like, are we
He's gonna be
physically attracted to him? What did he say? Like, there's so
Is
many
the
things
nervous
about
guy
the
like
person.
freaking out, or like what is?
Don't
if he
they have
just
like the
"Hey, I'm a
nervous
little
guy in the
nervous."
chick flick movies, and like he's still
Yeah.
like the
Yeah,
taller
like-
guy, the guy who works out, and generally the one that women like.
You might think
But
a
he's just, like,
confident
he
guy is
stutters a little
cocky.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's another side to this coin. Okay, what if a guy was confident, but his confidence is like, you know, you're walking down the street and you get catcalled by a guy. He's like, "Hey, mommy, what's up? You looking good." Like, even though that's
Yeah, that's-
confident, that's
yeah.
not attractive.
Well, I think
know.
that goes into the
Innocent
realm
first
of
date, right?
cocky.
Wait, come back
I mean,
home.
but cocky and
That
confidence
goes
kind
into
of go.
Are
intersect.
confident
Hey,
men not
mommy.
vulnerable ever?
Huh?
Are confident men not vulnerable men?
They can be.
Okay.
I think all people are capable of being vulnerable,
Exactly.
whether by choice or circumstance.
Yeah, so just because someone approaches you and they seem more confident doesn't mean that they're not a vulnerable person in other like.
Am I out of am I out of touch here? Is it not a thing that women are attracted to confident men? Am I off base here for saying
I mean,
that?
I agree with
like,
that.
is that a stretch
But
to say that
confident and
women are attracted to
vulnerability are not
confident
mutually
men?
like you can
Yeah.
be both. They're not
Well,
mutually exclusive.
I feel like when you're vulnerable, if you're like, oh, hey, I'm nervous to a girl, I feel like that's kind of confident because
yeah,
not
if you're
most
like, hey, I'm
self-aware.
really nervous,
Yeah,
but
it's
I
very
found you really
self-aware.
attractive.
Let me ask you guys a question. How important is, like, when you're first meeting a guy, how important is the vibe or the guy being able to carry a conversation? Would you
Very
say
important.
Would you say that's fairly important? Do you
Yeah.
think a guy who's shy and nervous is as capable as a guy who's confident of eliciting said vibe?
I'm
or,
gonna be honest with this
Hold on, let me
answer.
just finish. Who is as capable of eliciting the vibe or being able to, maneuver a conversation that feels, good or organic?
I think those are different traits, though. Like that's different than vulnerability. That's confidence
Being
and
shy
vulnerability.
and nervous is being vulnerable.
There's a crucial detail that you are neglecting here. Like,
Go ahead.
how hot is he? And this applies to both men and
Yeah.
women. Like, how much are you willing to, like, something that's quirky and on an attractive woman is maybe like
Sure.
weird on an ugly girl. That's
Yeah,
like
because
obese.
if you get
You tell the formula.
catcalled by a guy that's like really hot, what are you gonna do? Like, getaway
I mean,
model? Like,
that's
no,
not
you're gonna be
true.
like, hi.
That's not always true. I mean, I feel like that's
I mean,
a
come
weird-
on, give me a break. Like,
It's not
seriously.
always true. I feel
Oh,
like
It
shit, I
doesn't mean
didn't
that
mean
if
to
you're hot, you
discuss
get
that.
passed for
I love that.
everything.
Yeah.
But it certainly allows a little more wiggle room.
if you're catcalling someone, I don't
That's true.
think most
Okay, well,
people
let's
would
move
find
away
that.
from
No,
Okay,
I would
well,
find
if
it
it's
annoying. if but it's a really
yeah,
hot
even
guy
that
and
hot,
he's
because
vulnerable.
People like there's that one thing or like that meme where it's like an ugly guy, the drawing, and it's like
Oh, yeah, the
high,
meme.
and it's like sexual
Like the
harassment,
HR meme?
and it's like
There's the difference between harassment
and then like a
you know.
attractive guy doing the same thing, and it's like flirting. And I feel like there's no difference if you are catcalling someone, if you're doing something,
It depends on the
sexually
approach. If they're
harassing
like,
someone,
"Hey, baby girl,"
Yeah,
like no matter
like-
how they look, it's like you're cringe.
No, I'm like
No, but-
terrified
but
of that regardless of how hot
there's
a guy
definitely,
is. Like,
there is definitely truth when it comes to like two guys that are exhibiting the exact same behavior. If the one guy's really attractive and the other guy's you're not attracted to him, you might say that guy's creepy, and then the really attractive guy, he's just flirting.
Depends how bad.
Or
Well,
it could
yes,
be
it
aggressiveness.
depends.
I mean,
Maybe it's
factors
not,
are in that.
one is not aggressive enough.
Step one, be attractive. Step two,
But there's still
don't be
social understanding.
unattractive.
Like you,
Step two,
for
be
guys, you still have to
attractive.
work out. You still have to dress properly, do your hair properly. So there's still
Yeah.
some sort of social skill in being physically attractive versus the guy
Yeah.
who, I don't
Yeah.
know, is like wearing like a
But-
stained T-shirt or something like that, or like
Sure.
And like not working out, can't be strong, can't protect you.
I don't know, but this whole idea of that men should be vulnerable, I don't
mean,
think that's.
I
feel
don't
like
buy it either,
people-
honestly.
Is it just
Yeah.
in
I
this
feel-
context of approaching someone?
Well, that's one example I've
That's
provided.
one example. So if the guy's confident approaching you, but then later he's going through something and he's opens with you and he's vulnerable and he maybe even cries, maybe somebody died. I don't think that's
Yeah, that's.
I think a lot of women would, for example, like if a woman saw her boyfriend or partner like get beat up in a fight, I don't know if they've done a study on this, but like I would say a fair amount of women would lose attraction for their partner in that
what
situation.
percentage.
I don't.
how hard did he fight
Well,
back?
I mean,
What's
yeah.
How hard did he fight back?
Okay, you want to talk
If he
about
just-
the Joe Rogan
No,
video?
yeah,
or-
there was
okay.
a Joe Rogan interview,
Yeah.
and obviously, look, this is one singular woman who happened to be an MMA fighter, but she was, you'd almost think because she's an MMA fighter, she would almost have more of an understanding. But she said, hey, I was at a fight with my boyfriend, I was there in the corner, and he got knocked the fuck out, and I shortly broke up with him afterwards because it was just I lost attraction to see my partner who,
The
I
way
think a
that
lot
he
of-
reacted by the time that he was hitting the floor, that was the face that he made. Like, how are you so bad at like getting beat up? At least like take it. But he was
I think
just
that-
Wait,
like,
so do you,
The ick.
That's a lack of maturity, though. On
Can't
her
someone
part.
be confident
mean-
enough to be vulnerable? Like, doesn't vulnerability
exactly like
take
in
confidence?
martial art, there's
He's a
some
fighter.
pride into
He's
just
gonna lose
losing
sometimes.
with dignity, and he totally lost it, and
Oh,
that's
so
what
you're-
turned
wait,
her off.
You're on the side of I think her name was Miriam Nakam.
I'm into martial arts as well, so I can kind of understand where she's coming from.
Oh, so okay, if your boyfriend like got scorched up in a fight and made some like face, then you'd
like a little
It's all about
loser
the
face that
face?
can't take
There we
defeat.
go,
It's
Exhibit
like,
A.
ew.
But wait,
Exhibit A,
what-
don't be
ew.
vulnerable.
Hold on.
Thank you.
because
I think it's
Take it like a freaking
What's
man.
the, what's
you know?
the point? What's the
It's-
point pointing this out? You could say the same thing for like the statistic about how men leave their terminally ill wives. Like,
Yeah. I
what would
think
be the
actually-
point of me pointing that
I
out?
mean, there's
to,
a
like,
difference.
demonize the other
Also-
gender? Why?
Well,
A guy who
don't-
tries to
don't
be
both
tough is not
genders are more likely to leave their partner if there's some sort of illness. I don't know what the
But
stats
men do
are,
it
but
more
I think
often
on this-
statistically.
I don't think
Yeah,
that's
well,
true.
That's
A lot of
Yeah,
men
but
leave
I
women
don't
right
think
after
that.
they
It's
I
just
don't
the
think
point.
that's true.
Are you put-
I
it's
bet
like
it's
pushing
women.
narrative.
Well, look at
I
us.
definitely
Sorry.
think
That's
women are leaving their
divisive.
Consult
partners
Google.
more often in these
And
terminal
you're thinking that
illness
because-
situations. Because, well, as a man, if you're in the provider role, if you got cancer or something, you're less
isn't it
capable
women
of
in
being a
the nurturing
provider.
role?
If the stats disagree with you, well, how do you explain that? Because they do.
Disavow.
Okay.
Disavow, for sure.
So aren't women nurturing anymore? Like that's something that women nowadays
I
are
don't know.
into?
I could be wrong. I don't know the stats specifically on this topic. I haven't
They're
looked at
there.
it.
You just don't want to look at them because they disagree with you.
Because I take
I
care of my
do.
man when he's sick.
First off, I think a lot of issues with like a lot of statistics is there's this issue when it comes to studies of of not being able to duplicate.
Replicability.
Yeah. So like,
Well, that's been
but let me.
replicated, though.
Okay, so what's the Google search I look up? Because I'll look it up. What do I look up to find this?
I mean, just type in the question.
Who's more likely to leave?
Men leave their terminally ill wives.
Men leave terminally
You've seen the statistic, right?
Yeah.
ill
So-
wives more frequently.
Well, it's just to find the statistic. But my point is, like, it's kind of divisive to, like, point out, like, this other statistic when you could easily bring up ones like this that
There's
demonize
no
men,
way.
too.
There's
It's like,
Okay.
what's the point?
also no
What does it
statistic
say?
on
I
that.
found. Okay, here's what I found.
This also violates my marriage vows.
Here's
too,
what
in
I found.
sickness
Wait,
and-
can I say this real quick? Because one thing I'd say is if you break up with your boyfriend just because you lost a fight, like solely off
You
that,
don't like
I don't
him.
know the whole thing, like what happened there, but solely off that, why can't we just say they're a person? Why would
Yeah.
you break
Yeah,
up
you
with
didn't
your
truly
boyfriend?
love the
Like it's
person.
just that.
Well,
it's
there's
not like this
probably
whole
other
woman thing and
problems.
gender
But
thing.
I think there's a evolutionary biological argument you can make. If a woman witnesses her partner, her boyfriend get f***ing scorched in a fight, somewhere in the lizard brain, she's going to be thinking, is he going to be capable of protecting me in some sort of self-defense scenario? So even if it's not, you don't intellectualize it, you're like, okay, well, I still love him, blah, blah, blah. There could be somewhere deep down inside you where you're like, you lose attraction for that guy.
We don't
And
act
how
on
many
all
other
the
guys
stuff deep
got
inside
knocked out
us.
in fights in the
Yeah.
MMA and they're still with their women?
Yeah.
What's that?
How many other guys in the MMA got
Well,
knocked out and
Yeah.
they're still
How
with
hard
their
they
women?
fight back. This is
You
kind of
have a
question.
biological inclination to be racist, but you reason your
Huh?
way out of it. Yeah, you have an in-group bias,
I don't know
skin
about that.
selection, group selection. Yeah, I was just reading.
It's
I-
not
listen,
about
I
getting
like
knocked
all-
out.
all
It's about
races are
how you
wonderful.
get knocked out. How you
my
react.
You
to
do
that.
though.
saying
We don't
solely
all. We're
off
not just
that,
all
you're a shitty
academics
person.
to our evolution and our biology, and so a lot of people reason can override your genes. So if you like somebody, you're not going to be like, oh my god, he can't protect me if my neighboring village comes and attacks. Like,
I don't think we are 100% beholden to our evolution necessarily, but there are certain things that could have an impact in a relationship.
do you want to be with someone where you get beat up and they don't like you because you like? Is that the kind of person you want to be with, or
No,
do you want someone
I
who's
wouldn't,
involved?
but I mean, I would assume that it's not an attractive thing to see your partner get f***ing scorched in a fight.
Do you have
well,
to be
it's not a good thing
attractive
either.
24/7 to your partner to be
Well,
loved?
would you
Is
want to
that
be
what you
with
want?
someone that lost respect for you and doesn't respect you anymore as a human being?
Why would you
wanna-
do that?
I don't know.
That doesn't happen. all
Well,
that often.
obviously it did with her.
It happened.
Look, I'm
one
not saying
time.
all women are going to
Well,
operate
maybe they're-
like that.
Yeah, but what if
It's probably more
someone were
leading
to
up.
say the same thing and like, oh, well, there's guys out there, once their wife gets pregnant and now they have stretch marks and have their kids, now they're not attracted, now they want to leave them. These guys out here,
Yeah.
you know.
You should all get beat up,
like
and if
it,
your
it,
girl
it
leaves
seems like
you,
I'm pushing a narrative.
it's a
It just seems
dodgeball.
And
like
you
what's
know
the
what?
point? It's divisive.
Well, would you agree that may very well be the case, though, that for some men, after a woman goes through pregnancy, they may very well lose attraction for their
But
partner.
if I said that, I would get called a feminist. I would get
I
called
don't-
like
Here,
lip-hearted.
I'll say it for you. I mean, that does happen though. I mean,
Yeah.
men do like lose attraction for the wives when they
Both-
get pregnant.
And
Both
what do
men
we
and
s-
women lose attraction for their
Exactly.
partners
So
for
it's
a wide
we
variety
both
of
do
reasons.
that.
and
So
those
why
are
we
shitty
fighting
men,
this
and
thing?
those are shitty women.
They
and you
weren't
should-
best
yeah,
friends in
yeah.
the first place, I think, if they do that. Because if two people are best friends in the first place, I don't think that they would give up on each other that quickly over stretch marks. Like, I think their relationship has to be deeper than that.
You dodged
yeah.
a bullet if
Superficial.
she's
It's
leaving
okay.
you because you got jumped. Like, you dodged. That's a great thing. Bye. That's what I think you should do.
Like, I
Had to
can
pull
tell
my
you
pants
that.
down. I mean, I don't
Did
know.
you literally just get blown the f- out? Is that why you tried to leave? You're blown out.